All right, so here we go. Welcome back. Part two of this nonsensical New York City quarantine timeline. This is when it really starts to get good. Part one, right, was early April to early May. This brings us to the sort of outing of Cuomo's mismanagement of the nursing homes. Ex-governors are calling him out. Some media is starting to question this. He's now, of course, I believe, under investigation, which was started by New York State Representative Elise Stefanik. But that is perhaps for another video. Anyway, May 2nd, 2020, we're back outside the testing facility, right across the street from the grocery store. The line is still around the corner. The testing facility is still empty. There are even more traffic cones and more employees at this point. Again, go ahead and check out my Instagram for some more, short clips and interactions, live, video of these people. But you can hear them. They're giggling. They're laughing. They're standing around shooting the breeze. They got a Shake Shack delivery. I mean, it's just constantly lunchtime with these people. And here's a good photo of a man being turned away because he wasn't in a car. Now, he's got a little scooter or moped or whatever. He's got his helmet, but it's not good enough. He needs a car. So what does the state trooper tell him? Call an Uber. So this virus is super deadly. It's coming to get all of us. Well, actually, it's only coming to get the black people, but whatever. This man thinks he has it and wants to get tested, but he should call an Uber. Think about the levels to this nonsense, right? A man at the testing site saying, if you want to get tested, call an Uber. No problem. It's not really that dangerous anyways. Either way, the site is still completely empty. We got this nice photo, if you could tell. I'm going to try to zoom in a little bit at this young lady in her Honda with her feet up on the dashboard. It will get better from there, I promise you that. Site's still empty. Couple of employees. Oh, look at us. We're saving New York City. Good thing they clap for us every night at 7 p.m. This is nonsense. Oh, there is this little fun fact, little tidbit about a trans woman, a trans woman, leading the fight against COVID-19 in Pennsylvania, because when you want to talk about science and data, you need somebody who is delusional about their sex, or I don't even know, dude. It's just hilarious how nobody believes this has turned political, but we're praising a tranny for giving us medical advice in Pennsylvania. But Cuomo and de Blasio are no better, I promise you that. And Oxiris Barbeau, who is a political hack from day one, she was one of the first people to make this political, but again, I digress. We got one of the first warm days, May 3rd, and it looks like people are starting to wake up. I mean, this park up in Long Island City is completely full. And that was comforting to see people not, really taking all of Andrew Cuomo's words to heart. And of course, you can get to-go beers now because that's more safe. So it's not safe for you to go into a bar and pay $9 for a beer, but you could grab it at the window and walk around the city with it. That's safe. Think about this stuff. We've thrown all logic out the window. And speaking of logic going out the window, this is the Queensboro Bridge where I spotted a handful of people, and they're all around New York City. They're wearing masks, but they're not wearing helmets, even though for decades the government recommended that you wear a helmet when you ride a bike. And I'd venture to say it's more likely that you hit a New York City pothole and go flying over the handlebars, than you are to catch the virus while you riding a bike. But what do I know? And then we got Cuomo coming out here, more tweets. Those who don't learn from history are doomed to repeat it. He starts talking about the 1918 influenza epidemic to put more fear in New Yorkers and just say, I was wrong about all that stuff before, but you're probably still going to die in a couple weeks if you don't do exactly what I say. And he says, want to know the best way to honor our brave healthcare workers? Oh, you mean the ones throwing around a makeshift football and sleeping in hammocks at the testing site? How to honor them is by wearing a mask? No thanks, bro. Act responsibly and wear a mask outside. Fresh air is dangerous. It's going to get you. Give it a rest, man. This is absolute insanity. He's telling me my job's not essential and the air is not safe to breathe, while I can see people sleeping in hammocks at the testing site. I want to save that for the grand finale, but think about that. I mean, you have to plan that. You have to bring a hammock. You have to tie it to a tree, tie it to the fence in this case, to take a nap. You brought that because you knew you would have time. We'll get there. And then he says, but we can't be stupid. That's what he says. He says things like, we can't be stupid and we must be smart. And that passes for leadership. Meanwhile, he's throwing all these infected old people back in the nursing homes, talking about, we need to take care of our most vulnerable. And if this saves just one life, no matter the fact that he killed, 5,300 people by sending sick nurses and sick patients back into nursing homes, but we have to be smart. And then we got a little glimpse at the Mount Sinai downtown urgent care, where they have the audacity to put a sign up thanking themselves. To the healthcare workers fighting for our lives, thank you, with a Mount Sinai logo on it. So they created a sign to thank themselves. And this time I spent out there, I did see a couple of pizza deliveries. I'm sure they were on the house. And some nurses walking around the neighborhood, going to get chicken wings and slices of pizza and all sorts of stuff. So while they in there, I'm sure it's a war zone inside. But they just got to come out because they get a little hungry and got to grab a slice. Don't worry, we ain't going to spread the virus to the pizza joint. We good. The levels. More curbside cleaning supply salesmen. That's okay, no problem. Nothing to see here. But if you think about going to work, you might kill a 5-year-old child. The virus lives at your workplace. You will die if you go there. And a little kid and an old person. But these guys are okay to sell Chinese face coverings and rubbing alcohol on the sidewalk. Then we got more propaganda. Really fun fact about this one is that it has this little, group activities are not permitted. And, if you're an illegal immigrant, you can still get health care. But if you look at the base of this sign, there's a pile of garbage and what appears to be human feces. But make sure to wear your face mask. Absolutely disgusting. More curbside cleaning salesmen. No problem. We could do that. That's all good. More tweets from Cuomo. Reopening our state is far more complicated than shutting it down. Blah, blah, blah. Backlash. We must be smart. That's what he thinks passes. It's just saying the word smart. I've said it before and I'll say it again, but it grinds my gears, to say the least. Look at the data. Follow the science. Listen to experts. Be smart, says Cuomo. There is no dollar figure to a human life. New York will reopen by region when it is safe to do so. Meaning, I don't know what's going on, but we need more federal funding and I'm going to just hold New Yorkers hostage until I get it. Think about this. That testing site has been empty the entire time. I've been there, probably every 2 or 3 days, multiple times a week since the first day it opened. And it's always been empty. But he's saying it's not safe. And I guarantee you, I said it in a previous video, he is going to do nothing but ask for more federal funding. May 7th, testing facility remains completely empty. Card tables, sun umbrellas, just sitting down in the chairs, legs crossed, is really going down. This man eating a burrito at the back of a van. Definitely not social distancing. Mask pulled down below their chin. Nonsense. Then this brings us to the second protest, the detainment protest, the arrest protest, as it were. And before we even get there, I noticed that they shut down the 9/11 memorial. I mean, it's open air. There's trees everywhere. It's a huge place. But they put a little chain around it and say it's not safe for you to go to. How does eliminating space from the city help this virus? I'm looking for answers. This is nonsense. So May 9th, boom. A lot of good signs, a lot of informed people, a lot of police officers, and their little boom box that blast the brainwashing out there because they can't be bothered to talk for themselves. This is where the arrests occur for simply walking down a sidewalk. They asked us to leave the park. We left the park, walking down the sidewalk, and then they start arresting me. They started, a handful of us. I guess for failure to social distance. I didn't get the memo. He just said, put your arms behind your back. Nothing, no word. But then they put 9 people in a van built for 10. No social distancing there. And then they have an NYPD officer put a mask on my face, even though they told you not to touch your face and wash it. All that stuff. The levels to this nonsense is just mind blowing. Anyway, the day after the arrest, we're back at the testing facility. Still a whole lot of nothing. They are sitting down. There's more traffic cones than even before. It makes no sense. This is the very same day I went to Tompkins Square Park, and you could see some signage, which I guess started out as fear-mongering, but as you look a little closer, you see some people dropping truth bombs, scamdemic, calling out Bill Gates, calling out the CDC, saying the language of fear is not helpful. We need to have an adult discussion. A life well lived carries risks. A lot of good tidbits of truth on what started out as a fear-mongering sign. A little more tour around Manhattan before we get back to the testing facility. More street vendors, the world-famous West 4th Courts, colloquially named The Cage, or called The Cage, has a giant, 20-foot fence surrounding it, but they went in there and took the rims down anyway because they just couldn't lock the gate, which would have been, it's astonishing. Some poor business owners, this guy who was lucky enough to own an essential wine shop is telling his customers, listen up, COVID-19 is real. Cover your effing mouth. Get what you need and leave ASAP. Keep 6 feet. Store capacity 8 customers. You cough, you're out. Imagine talking to your customers that way. These people are absolute morons. A sad sign, Linwich. I've never been to this. It's a little sandwich shop, but it's closed permanently. More signs, silly signs about wearing masks. A silly sign saying, please wear a mask when you enter. You can also buy a mask here. So can I go in and buy something that's not a mask? Where's the logic here? It's blowing my mind. I'm at a loss for words regarding some of this stuff. Then we got an open air market in Chinatown. I'm sure they will not be asked to follow any nonsensical guidelines. This is just for people who, I don't know, or had regular jobs and born and raised in America and, pay taxes. I mean, no shade to this community, but it seems a little silly that people are getting arrested for walking down the street, but you could, crowd into one block in Chinatown and sell fruits back and forth. Then we're back at the testing facility. This is where I believe it really starts to get good. It is nothing but brand new cones. You can see them. You can see they're absolutely brand new, shining straight from the factory, all that stuff. They're everywhere. I mean, you would have thought that there might be 1 or 2 cars in there, but nope. Just a bunch of parked employee cars, some tents, traffic cones, and that makeshift football. Again, check out my Instagram for some of the live video of them actually tossing around what I thought was a football at first, and then it's clear it's not, but they're using it like it is. I mean, think about the levels to that. You had time to craft that. You had space to throw it around the parking lot and laugh and giggle while you're telling me that my job is non-essential. I mean, the absurdity with these traffic cones, piles of them everywhere, but no traffic. You got this gentleman sitting in the corner here talking on his cell phone, but it will get better because then you see this man right here in a hammock. So think about the levels to that. He brought a hammock to work, or somebody brought a hammock to work, whatever, you could have your lunch break, but you knew you would have enough time to sit lay, whatever, in the back of the testing facility parking lot in a hammock, while everybody else is told that their jobs are not essential and it's not safe to go back to work. And people are getting arrested for walking down the street for this. I mean, it's absolutely astonishing. And then you have Mayor Bill de Blasio So at this point, the lockdown is extended to May 28th, with the emergency order extended to June 13th, which is confusing for a lot of people, but it's just them doing their political dance to make people more fearful. Even though the weather is starting to hit 80, everybody's outside, they're definitely not listening to it. I'm certainly not. But the television is still telling you the communities of color are dying. It's still not safe. It's too soon. We can't start it. Meanwhile, millions of people are on unemployment worrying how they're going to feed their family. But it's just not safe. Even though you have an empty parking lot full of government issue employees sleeping in hammocks and throwing around a fake football. And then Bill de Blasio says, testing is key. We're broadening our guidance for who can get a test. Anyone with symptoms, anyone who has been close, anyone who works in a nursing home, blah, blah, blah. Which goes to show and back my initial point that at first they said, oh, we can't just take anyone off the streets. But now the testing sites are empty and they're realizing people aren't getting the test. And they're saying, come on, guys, go get more tests. They're doing the same thing in San Francisco. You need to go get a test now. No, I don't. We're all healthy. This thing is over. But they're just dragging their feet along. Oh, well, it's just, so I just don't know how we're going to make it. We're going to need more federal funding, but it's not safe. I mean, it's 80 degrees, guys. It's summertime. Give it a rest. I've already spoke about Cuomo ad nauseum and all his missteps. I did write an article about Cuomo, de Blasio, and Oxiris. I hope to have that published real soon. Look out for it. But until the next one, have a wonderful morning, afternoon, or evening.